I believe many beginners, when choosing an ESC, often run into a common question: what does the rated amperage really mean? Take this racing ESC as an example, the F60A Mini V2, which is labeled as 60A. Some of you may have looked up the MOSFET model numbers and discovered that their ratings look even more exaggerated for OV150A continuous and even 500 AP current, and that's just for a single MOSFET. So are these numbers real, or are the manufacturers exaggerating? Can the ESC really handle such current without failing? In fact, they're not fake. The maximum current reading from the MOSFET manufacturer is measured when it's fully turned on, without high-frequency switching, which is when it can pass the most current. These values are strictly tested and often marked conservatively. In reality, the MOSFET could handle even higher voltage and current, but they rated lower to ensure reliability and redundancy. However, many FPV racers still end up burning ESCs after crashes or improper operation, because during real FPV fights, the working conditions of MOSFETs and copper tracers are extremely harsh. For example, when driving motors normally, MOSFETs are constantly switching at high frequency, which inevitably generates switching losses and heat. Especially if your tuning isn't right, the throttle signals from the flag controller can oscillate rapidly at high frequency during sharp throttle turns or sudden throttle punches. The black box log may show throttle values jumping between 0 and 100 at up to 50 to 60 Hz. Normally, prop wash is around 20 to 30 Hz and acceptable. But such high-frequency swings generate huge extra heat on the MOSFETs. Another example is when flying a heavy quad and suddenly punching throttle. If the capacitors are insufficient or the motors are huge, repeated throttle punches can easily blow the MOSFETs, even if the motors don't show such high current on spec sheets. This happens because during throttle punches, the operating condition is extreme. Under heavy load, the current is already very high. As I explained in my previous video, in high-load operation, motor coil current is huge, and large motors also have high inductance. At that moment, if you suddenly cut throttle to 0, some ESC firmware may not be optimized for it, and the motor coils will generate a huge back EMF. This is caused by coil inductance. The current can instantly drop from high to low, producing a voltage spike that sometimes exceeds the MOSFET's limit and burns it. Another case is during crashes, which are very special. Some ESCs may have the MCU freeze, or the firmware fails to detect motor stall quickly enough. This can cause extremely high current, sometimes far beyond the rated value, like a 60A ESC seeing over 100A. Combined with high-frequency switching, this can easily burn both the motor wires and the MOSFETs together. So that explains why MOSFETs often burn out in crashes and abnormal situations. So, when choosing an ESC, if you're a racer pushing the limits, always go for 60A or high-rated ESCs. And in crashes, always disarm quickly. If you're using AM38 firmware, make sure stall protection is enabled. This helps prevent ESCs from burning abnormally.